Cool, dude. Let's get started then, man. So obviously here to talk about the mental side of sports psychology, all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
When you hear the terms, the mental side of sports, the mental side of being an athlete, like what's the first thing that comes to your head?
It's literally everything. It's just everything. And I feel like sometimes it's not really acknowledged that it's involved in everything.
Yeah.
But it's really important to, I feel like with the growth of an athlete, the more you grow as an athlete over time, it's really important to acknowledge that the mental aspect is really important, and it's revolved around everything in sport.
Yeah, it's interesting how like it's not really talked about that much. I think it's starting to be talked about more and more, but like not to the same aspect of like someone's 40 or someone's, what they rep on 225.
True.
It's probably hard because you can't measure like somebody's mental game, right?
Yeah.
You can't tell me like my confidence is whatever 80% right now, right? I scored a top 10% confidence.
But I feel like that's something that it's important to be exemplified. Like they watch for those things. That's where film comes in, right? Because you could kind of see someone's reaction or a side of their mentality based on how they react to a play, or if something negative happens, how do they respond, right?
Yeah.
If they were already in the mind frame of like, okay, I'm good, I'm gonna get back to it, or the whole game is thrown off for the rest of the day, right? So
you mentioned
it has a huge impact, man.
You mentioned film, and I always think like football is probably like the one sport where there's so much film study. Like you probably have days,
days, man. But like I feel like it is like that in every other sport, but based on hands-on experience, definitely football with film study is really important. Just knowing the playbook, understanding the playbook, understanding your offense or your schemes, understanding your opponent's schemes. And it changes week to week, right? It can change day to day. Like it's consistent, but you have to be mentally tapped in all the time.
Yeah. Walk me through like that transition mentally, because I know film is a huge part of football, but just the mental transition in general from going from McMaster to the CFL. Because like I know a bit, like a bit of my background at Mac, and I know how intense it can be there.
Yeah.
I love their football, but I mean, when you go to the CFL, it's 10 times that.
I feel like when I was in university at Mac, definitely McMaster has a great football program, and like they have good history, and they prepare. They have a good winning history as well, and they prepare well. But I was definitely introduced to watching a lot of film there. Even at my school is pretty good for football too, so they introduced it to us there too. But high school level and university, I was just having fun, man. Obviously,
not really paying attention to the film too much.
I definitely pay attention to it, but you're not. Me personally, I was enjoying it. Obviously, you're trying to look for your highlights. You're trying to look for the things that you do good and things like that. But I feel like the more competitive it got, or like the deeper into the season or more into playoffs, then you really start tapping into your opponent and what they do and schemes and things like that. But for the most part in university, I was having fun. I was just really trying to enjoy it. Yeah. And yeah, man, I feel like that's an important part of it too, to really to embrace that fun. Like, you gotta always have
fun, man.
Yeah, you got to.
It's not even about sports having fun. It's about life in general.
Exactly.
I know you got a couple art pieces behind you, and I've been following you on your IG and all the art stuff you've been putting out. That's like a perfect example of you doing something that is fun, that you genuinely enjoy. And I think whether it's sports or art or whatever it is, that's what people need, that mindset of like, this is fun. I actually like to do this, because if you don't like to do it, like the work, you're just going to start hating it, because the amount of work you got to put in to excel at something, it's crazy.
Exactly. I feel like that's what creates a bit of a separation. You could actually see and feel at times who's actually purely enjoying it. And I feel like the people who actually purely enjoy it, they find it easier to bounce back. Like, because it's something you just naturally like to do, regardless of the obstacles that you face. You still want to have fun within it, and I feel like that's something important to do with whatever you're doing. It has to it's good to embrace that fun and keep that with you, no matter how old you get, no matter how experienced you are. You gotta have fun with it, man.
Football's a game of highs and lows, of course, and obviously throughout the highs of your career, I gotta imagine it's pretty easy for it to be fun.
Yeah.
But during some of those low points, how do you keep it fun, or is it still fun, and is it just about like looking ahead to what fun could be?
I feel like with the beginning for me in my CFL career, it was kind of rough. Like I feel like the beginning for me was just getting drafted in a great position, being the first running back and things like that. It was just good for me, good for my family, good for everyone who helped me achieve that goal. But then it just got rocky. Like I had some serious injuries, I had to do some surgery, things like that, being released, and it's kind of bouncing all over as a young athlete. It kind of rocked my world at first. It really got to me mentally.
Right.
And that's something I had to face. I had to face as an individual. I had to face as an athlete. And the reason I had to face it because I didn't want it to go beyond what it actually was. Like I had to look at it logically rather than emotionally, because I feel like that's when I was getting mixed up at first. A lot of my emotions were tied into I didn't understand. I didn't take that time to understand a lot of the importance and the details to the league. But when you look at it logically too, it just gives you an opportunity to really look and say, okay, now I understand, and this is how I'm going to go about certain things. But
yeah, that's a growth. That's like, I mean, that's when you really grow up.
Yeah.
When you can and it's hard because, I mean, we're all emotional. We're all humans. Like we live on emotion, right? But
once I was able to take all of that in and understand it, and I grew so much. And I focused on the positive so much more. I just looked for opportunities, and I got my opportunity with BC. And I feel like from then on is when I really truly started to embrace and get back to the fun, like just free up myself and be myself as an individual first.
Is that kind of when you think back at your career so far, because obviously your career is not over yet, but kind of, Wayne Moore at Mac going into the CFL to Wayne Moore today, is that like the biggest difference that you think of, like taking things logically and not emotionally, or are there other parts of your mental that have changed?
I feel like that's something I carry within everything I do. I feel like that's when I actually acknowledge that the separation of logic and emotion, it helped me grow so much more in everything I do. And I could definitely say that's something that I acknowledged, or I took a lot more. I looked more in depth with when I got to the CFL, because it's a huge hurdle I had to get over.
Yeah. I got to imagine like that's probably one of the things that athletes struggle with the most is taking the emotion out of it. For like other athletes,
so much aspects to it. But the emotion I won't necessarily say take the emotion out.
Okay.
Because it's important to have that, like, I don't know, for me personally, that emotional drive sometime to want to win, to the joy, and, it's just like, it's kind of like emotion and passion, kind of. But you want to win, you want to embrace that feeling with your teammates, and
you don't want to be a robot out there, but like.
Exactly. But then at times you have to kind of know when to separate that and say, okay, this is the logical plan, this is the approach, this is what needs to be done. And regardless of if you're happy or not, this is just what the objective is at the time,
It's tough because I think that's a perfect scenario of like, you need to have that fine middle ground. And I think for every person, it's different. Some people are a bit more emotional that works with them. Some other people are less emotional, but it's like, you got to find that middle ground. And I got to imagine a lot of athletes struggle with something like that. So what kind of advice would you give to somebody where like they can recognize they're taking things really emotionally, like how you may have done at the beginning of your career, but they don't know how to start like changing that mindset?
Ooh. I feel like in every sport, it could be different, but obviously, and I feel like every sport has different requirements. So for instance, like the way I'm looking at it right now, when people think about football, it has more of a physical attachment to it. So you may feel more, the emotion may be different than the approach if it were golf. More zen, more calm, more, there's a lot more strategies to it. But Yeah, I feel like it's just different. It changes amongst different athletes and different sports, but I feel like it is something that, as an individual, that should be explored, and I feel like it's important to actually identify it and know how to go about it.
For you, was it like a specific point in your career where it kind of clicked into you that you had to change this mindset?
Oh yeah. I remember
something that comes to mind, eh?
I feel like I grew the most when I was released from Ottawa, and I feel like that's when like just reality just hit, because I was with Montreal before, and I prepared, did everything the way I feel like it should have been done to get there, make the team and so forth, and then I got released, and there was a lot of emotion behind that, and then I bounced back. I felt like I revamped myself and got ready, and I was good to go this time. And when I was with Ottawa, I feel like I showed myself and did a lot of that, but it just didn't go the way I wanted it to go. And that one, it hurt me. Like emotionally, it hurt me.
Yeah.
And as an athlete, I feel like I had to really check myself, and I had to endure that. Like over that period of time, I realized I came up on this phrase that friction is good. And I couldn't understand at first. What do you mean friction is good? Like, why would I want to embrace this? But that's the only way to get over it. You have to embrace it, acknowledge it, what happened, and then that's how you allow yourself to grow. And that's what I did. And within that period of time when I was a free agent, and I had to watch all these games and put my ego aside, I looked at it from a point in time where I have to get better. There's something I'm lacking, and there's something I need to grow. There's a way I need to grow, and I need to excel more as an athlete. So I put the work in. I acknowledged that, and when the opportunity came, even the way I approached it, I was just ready. Like when BC called me and they told me that they're going to bring me in for a 3-day workout, I packed 2 suitcases because I went with the mentality that like, I'm going to make this team. I'm not coming back home. It was just, I knew if I feel like I didn't make it, I think I would be fine too, because I know I went there giving it my all. And that's the only thing I was going to do. And it paid off when I was able to do that. And I'm still with them, so everything's been going good.
Yeah, there you go, man. I think I read in one of your interviews that there was like a 4-week gap of you watching that you're home.
Probably even longer. It was probably 4 or 5, 6, maybe, but it was tough. I was going through a lot of like just doubt, like a lot of ups and downs. But I'm so happy for that moment, because there's a lot I needed to acknowledge and a lot I needed to face. And I feel like I'll always remember that, because I know I grew a lot as a person, as an athlete in that period of time.
Yeah.
And it just had to happen.
Yeah. Huge props to that. Because I think for a lot of people, they could, if they were in a similar situation, they may almost kind of like come to learn to hate the sport. Like, oh, I don't want to watch it because I'm not playing, right?
Man, I went through that too.
Oh man,
I went through that too, man. It's normal.
The full 360 or 180 cycle.
Yeah, man. I was resenting it. At first, I was like, I don't know about this. I don't know if this is for me. And then deep inside, it's like, I know I love playing football. I love the process. I love training. I love embracing moments with my teammates. I love the sport. It's done a lot for me. And I knew I was not ready to step away from it yet. That was just all emotion that I was soaking in, and then I had to put that aside and grow. Yeah,
I listened to a lot of Gary Vaynerchuk. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him on social media.
Was he like an ex-Marine?
No. I think that's David Goggins.
Okay, yeah.
Gary Vaynerchuk, he's like an entrepreneur type of guy, but he's into like mindset and stuff like this. And he really helps people with like follow their passion. That's his big thing. And the one quote that he always says, like in response to questions of like people like asking like if they should give up or something, or like what they should do, he always says like, what's the alternative? And like when you tell me your story, that kind of like that comes to mind, because like you're kind of at home grinding and like you're having, doubts and stuff and whatnot. But like the alternative to all that is just giving up and walking away from football. Like that's exactly. I got to imagine for you in your scenario, like you couldn't even fathom never playing football again. So
exactly. And when you explain it to me that way, and as soon as I hear it, I'm like, when you present it to me, I'm like, am I searching for the easy way out?
Right.
And what does the easy way out provide? that's why I love the phrase like friction is good. I love it because it just makes sense. It's like you have to go through the fire. That's how you grow. That's how you endure. You have to adapt to whatever the situation is. And I feel like that word adapt is pivotal in sport. I know for sure firsthand in football, like you got to adapt to the weather, the changes, all types of things. But it's
week by week, man. Like you're adapting to, injuries on your side of the team, defense, different teams, weather, whatever it may be, right? Situation of the game.
Mm-hmm.
How have you changed as a running back, or have you changed at all in the way you play or the way that you approach the game of football, like your style of running from college or university to now? Because I was still, well, you were at Mac, what, 2015?
Yeah.
First year at Mac?
That was my third year.
Okay.
Yeah.
I started at Mac. I went to Mac. I did my undergrad there. I started there, I think 2011, the year they won the Vanier.
Mm-hmm.
With
I did the year after. I went the year after. Yeah.
So, and then I know because of my cousin playing there as well. I know you were, quite the prolific running back there in McMaster.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
But obviously, like the CFL, like that's just taken up another notch, right? Did you have to change your style at all going from McMaster to the CFL?
Oh yeah, I just had to grow overall. I had to grow as an athlete. I had to grow as a running back. I just had to grow as a person because, like I said, when I was at Mac, I was, how would I say it? I definitely took it serious, but I feel like a huge part of it for me was just fun. I feel like I had an edge. I knew I had an edge, and I would like deliberately out physical a lot of people a lot of times when I could simply run around them. I would probably just run through them, but
right.
I obviously in the CFL I kind of went there with that same mentality, but that's not always the case, and it's not the smartest thing to always do. But I still carry that. Like that's who I am as a person. I like to be physical. So if I could send that message, I'm going to. But there's times when if the first down is right there, I'd rather get the first down rather than I don't have to run through your. If I could just simply go over there and get some green,
Yeah. I like that, man. I was reading one of your. I think you had a interview not too long ago where it focused on art.
Yeah.
But one of your quotes that you had in it that I jotted down here that I thought it applied to sports really as well. So I just wanted to expand on it a bit. But you said you have to take. You think about art like you have to take your time with it. You have to enjoy the process and not rush it. And I think that's like has a lot of similarities to how people should approach sports, like not rushing it. I have to imagine you being drafted as high as you were. You could probably just let me know yourself, but I can imagine there was a certain amount of pressure or expectations that you felt to perform right away. Did you feel like that at all?
Yeah, at times I did. And it was just, a lot was new at the time. It was just a quick transition. So it was like, just to recap, I finished at McMaster, preparing for the draft, preparing for the combine, do the combine, preparing for the draft. Draft is successful. It's all like highs, right? And now it's okay, now anticipation to get to training camp in the league. And then you kind of get a little nervous, well, me personally, because it's all new and it's like, from my first year to my last year at Mac, I knew there was exponential growth, like huge growth. And on the end of it, I was really comfortable because I already went through the whole system. But now I'm at the bottom of the scale again, right? So that the unknown is what kind of made me a little nervous.
Yeah.
But it's just, like I said, it's necessary steps for growth. And it just had to happen, man. It just had to happen.
It's necessary.
Yeah.
You mentioned it a bit there. One of the most necessary. I think it's true for all sports, no matter what level of athlete you are. So when you're in high school, you're like the top dog.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can attest to that as well. In high school, you just dominate, right? And you go to Mac, and you're still the top dog, but
you got to prove yourself a little bit more. There's a few more of you out here.
And then you get to the CFL, and it's like boom, like it's the complete opposite, right? Like you're at the back of the bus.
Exactly. It's pretty much like while you're saying that, the first thing I thought of is once you get to the CFL, it's kind of like, hey, you don't have enough. There's not as much as a cushion for error. Whereas in high school, you can mess up and you may be the guy and your coach is just, okay, it's fine.
Yeah.
I know what you can do. Whereas in college, you're competing for a spot. And you may still have an edge, but they kind of rely on you for your strengths and so forth. Whereas if it's in CFL, everybody is there for a reason. Everybody there is talented. So every rep, every session, everything counts all the time, because those are things that are going to be evaluated and they'll be exemplified. And I feel like it's like that on every single level, but the margin for error is a lot slimmer.
I think
those
also,
are things that separate you.
I think in the CFL or any professional league, everyone's there for a reason. Everyone's got the physical stats, right? Everyone's built.
Yeah.
Everyone can run fast. I think it's the mental game that's what determines if you're going to stay for 5 seasons or 5 games.
Exactly. A huge part of that is, for instance, with the mental game, there's a lot of guys that can do. Say, for instance, there's a lot of guys that are strong and they're fast, but they could be strong and fast for the first quarter, but then second quarter you kind of see it dwindling. The halftime comes, third quarter. I feel like third quarter says so much about an athlete, because you've had the first half to exemplify everything you have, and you could have been going full tilt, but can you still go full tilt in the second half? And that's what I feel like separates you. That's where the mental aspect comes in. It's like mental endurance, physical endurance, obviously too, but to endure going through obstacles and to maintain that, keep coming back and providing that top tier talent.
When you were part of the CFL draft combine process, was there any like mental testing as part of it, or was it like just strictly physical?
Oh yeah, the mental testing, I would say, is like the interview process, because you have coaches that are coming at you from a whole bunch of different like angles. It's not like there's a set of questions that every team's gonna ask you. They could ask you whatever they like, right? Because they're trying to understand you as a person and trying to match that with the athlete that they see on film. And I actually enjoyed that, because I feel like you have to be comfortable with yourself to just be yourself all the time.
Yeah.
No matter who's interviewing or what their rep is, their reputation is. Like, or if you're thinking about a team, if you know a team to ask uncomfortable questions, but you're completely fine with yourself, it's like, okay, you're not really fazed by it, right? Because you're good with yourself as an individual.
That's I think is so important to the success of a football team. There's so many guys on that roster, man. And you got to imagine like the CFL, so many guys on that roster too, whether you're practice squad, whatever it is. Same with the NFL and even university. But like you got to kind of have to have that personality to fit in with the team, because you see it time and time again in pro sports where like that one bad seed in the locker room, it can crumble a team.
Exactly. So, especially on a football team, there's a vast majority of, there's like a lot of guys. For instance, if there's 60 guys in a locker room and you compare that to, I'd say, basketball, if there's like 20 guys in a locker room, that's a big gap.
Yeah.
That's a big gap. There's a big difference, right? And then we have guys from all over, different countries that who are exposed to different things, who are used to doing different things different ways, and they have to work together to get one thing done, right? So but I love that. I love that aspect. If everything is just in a cookie cutter system and everything's the same, that it doesn't really, where's the fun in that, right? Where's the growth? Where's the room for growth in that? So when everything's a little different and there's a lot of unknown, I feel like that's what makes it fun. That's what makes it interesting or intriguing to dive into.
Yeah. I think a lot of athletes out there would struggle with being themselves, like when they're on a new team or something, especially if they're like the youngest guy, right? I can imagine you probably went through a couple scenarios like that, like maybe your first year at Mac and then your first year at CFL, where like you're the newbie on the team, right? Were you able to still be yourself in those situations, or was it like a real mental battle of like opening up, I guess, of your personality and everything?
I feel like it was just maturing, just different levels of maturing. Because me as an individual, I'm usually a quiet guy. I like to observe things and just be quiet, take it all in. But I feel like that helped. That was to my benefit, because I'm naturally quiet. So with me being a young guy, whether it was coming into university or going into CFL, I always just stay to my own and observed first. But there were times where over time you feel more comfortable to talk or more comfortable to do different things. But I feel like that's just growth in general with whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
Mm-hmm.
I want to switch topics here a bit. I know recently you completed an 11-day fast.
Yeah.
Maybe not too recently. I forget the exact timeline of it. I know
when was it? I think September, October, one of them.
Okay. I know when I was kind of scrolling back through your social media content, I came across a couple of videos that talked about it, man. I just want to, I don't even know. I guess we could start at the beginning. What your motivation was for that, because I think like obviously there's physical aspects to doing a fast for that long, but the mental aspect is probably just as much there as well. But just walk me through, I guess, your motivation behind that, because from an outside perspective, I'm intrigued.
For me personally, it was I felt like I had hit a plateau or of just being comfortable, kind of.
In like sports or life?
Kind of a lot of things. I kind of, if there was a lot of ideas, or I just wasn't acting on a lot of things that were around me. And I wasn't really happy with that. And I wanted to kind of shake things up. And I've had to put something into place to really challenge myself to attack it. And I feel like just me doing that alone lit up a fire in me to be motivated to really go about it and discipline myself. And when I was researching the fast, or just like my knowledge of it through my family or people around me, it's because I'm a man of God. So it was to pretty much exemplify and show that I'm willing to sacrifice this to seek growth. And I'm not trying to look for no easy way out. Like I say, friction is good. So if I have to go through the fire, or if I have to sacrifice something to break through, then that's just what has to be done. And it was one of the best things. It was definitely challenging. It was tough, but that's when you have to tap into the mental. You really have to. I was so happy. I might do it again. I might do it again. But you just have to really discipline yourself. And when you feel like you really want to go against the grain and you feel tempted to break it, then you have to question yourself, like, why?
Yeah.
Like, is this little snack or something really worth waiting a little bit longer? And while I have to wait a little bit longer, let me be productive and get this done. So.
Did you eat anything during those 11 days, or was it just?
Oh yeah, it is.
You got to eat something. Yeah.
There was only a certain window I could eat, and then I just couldn't. And I'll just have to drink water or drink tea, and yeah.
Would that window be like daily or like every couple of days or?
Daily, but only it was like a small gap. But it threw me off because there'd be times I wouldn't realize. Sometimes I would just eat to eat.
Yeah.
And that's what I was used to doing. And I'm like, no. Like while I was going through the fast, I would realize, and I was like, no, that wasn't right. Like I shouldn't be going about this way. Like, I have to be more strategic and know what I'm putting into my body, and not just feeding myself to feed myself. Just kind of there's ways to go about it. Be more strategic. Yeah. So.
I think that's a perfect example. A fast is a perfect example of how the body can tap out before the mind does. Like your body is telling you something, but in your mind and in your heart that it can still go a little bit longer.
Your stomach starts rolling, a little headache.
Yeah.
But it's like you question yourself, like, can I control this? And let me see if I can. And then you realize you can. And then you're like, oh, I had control of this the whole time. I just didn't want to entertain it.
Yeah. And I don't think I'd recommend somebody to do an 11-day fast if it's their first time. Maybe that is good for them. I don't know.
It was my first time.
Scratch that.
But it was cool though, man. It was cool. I enjoyed it.
The point I was trying to make is I think that's a good way of showing yourself the potential you have as a person. because like you said, the situation you described, I think we've all been in a situation where like there's a lot of things around us that we can act on and do with our lives, but then for some reason that motivation's not there or that desire isn't there. When you push your body and your mind to a certain extent and they're able to overcome that obstacle, I think it kind of reaffirms or reinforces to somebody like how much potential they have and that they can accomplish the things in life that they set their mind to.
And I feel like it's really important to identify that. Once you identify it, it's like it lights a fire in you because you're seeing it clear as day and you start questioning yourself like, why am I afraid of this and why am I afraid of it? And once you identify that reason, you just get it and you go after it, man.
Listen, man, one thing I like to do before I end off these podcasts is I have a collection of sports psychology quotes.
Okay.
So I'll get you to pick a number between 1 and 23.
Ooh, why 23?
That's just how many I have.
Okay, I got
I know the history of that. But I'll pick a number between 1 and 23 and I'll read you the quote and then just tell me like what the quote means to you and if like there's a point in your career where the quote kind of like the first thing that comes to your head, I guess, when you hear that quote.
I love it.
11.
Yeah.
This is a good one. This is
Let's see what we got.
This is from Doc Rivers. Okay. This didn't used to be 11, but I switched up the order because everybody was picking 7, but then you picked 11. But it's from Doc Rivers. He said, good players want to be coached, but great players want to be told the truth.
Yes. 100%. 100%. Like man. I feel like that's logic. That's like logic and emotion.
Yeah.
Some guys just want to hear the fluff, whereas it's like, and be comfortable. But when you get told the truth, sometimes the truth is not always sweet, and that's when you grow. So,
in part of your growth as an athlete, was that part of that growth as well? Like going more towards the truth? Because I think I'm trying to picture, because I wasn't all province athlete by any means in high school or anything, but I got to imagine as like a really, really well-known athlete, a really successful athlete in high school, like you're just being told great things left, right, and center. Like you're on top of the world, right? And then you can go to college, university, whatever it is, and like somebody points out something that's wrong. Mm-hmm. I think for some people, it's easy for them to take offense to that or just to brush it off to the side.
For me, to be honest, like in high school, that was my experience. Mm-hmm. Just got told all the good stuff, like, Mm-hmm. And then university, I had a weird university experience, but I feel like there was a point where I was consistently seeking like the good or the bad, just the truth, and I wasn't necessarily getting it. Mm-hmm. And I held on to that for a good while. So, and I feel like, I don't know if it affected me as an athlete, how I approach things, but once I got to the league and you definitely experienced that as being a rookie, you're going to hear everything.
Yeah.
Like you're hearing it as it is. But when I was able to actually acknowledge it, absorb it, and grow was this past season for sure.
Wow.
It was a cool story. When I was in my rookie year, I played with Nick Lewis. And
I had him one of my first guests was him.
Hey. Great guy.
He was really fun to talk to. Yeah,
he's cool. But he was my teammate as a rookie, and then this year he was my running back coach.
Yeah.
So it was just cool for both of us. Like for him to say he's seen so much growth in me, and then for him to now be my coach and to share so much knowledge with me because he's a Hall of Famer. He's an amazing career, amazing athlete. But he taught me so much, and he would always tell me the truth. Whether it was good, bad. And I feel like a lot of times when athletes want to know the truth, if it's good, you don't necessarily always hear it.
Right.
And I feel like it's important to hear that so you can continue to stay that course. But to seek the bad as well, to know the negative truth, I feel like it's so important because that's the only way you could acknowledge it and grow, right? And he provided that for me. And as soon as it just showed me he cared too. So even knowing that he cared and he would just provide the information for me. It allowed me to grow, bounce back, and to show I care as well.
I think that plays really, really well into your quote from earlier. What was it? Finding friction or something like that?
Friction is good.
Friction is good. I know it involved friction, but it's all about not being complacent with who you are today. Always striving to get, even if it's 0.01% better, at least you're getting better. Mm-hmm. Seeking out that bad advice to know what to work on, just being comfortable with being told what to work on and growing as an athlete. Because like you said, whether it's a teammate or a coach, they're not, in the position they are, like just to make you feel good. Like they want the team to win. And if that involves telling you something to work on, giving you the hard truth, I guess, that's part of the game. And that's something that as an athlete, you got to get comfortable with sooner rather than later, because it's going to be part of your life forever.
A lot of that in my off-season training. What? My trainer, man, he's real deal. And it's not fluff. Like he's not trying to.
I deal with that too a lot with my flexibility. I always get my flexibility and mobility is so bad that I always get told I have the worst mobility anyone's ever seen. But to me, that's what I seek out, because I want to get better at the sports I play in. And in the competitions I play in. So I think
some people will hear it and shy away from it and just feel discouraged, whereas others will take it and say, okay, I'm gonna commit myself to this and improve.
And then like I said before, a difference between an athlete 5 years in the CFL and 5 games, I think that's a key piece to it, is taking that criticism and turning it into work ethic and turning it into goals and turning it into your routine.
Exactly. And I feel like that never stops, whether it be sport or in real life.
I mean, you with art as well. I mean,
I'm always trying to grow. I'm always trying to learn. I got a whole bunch of books here I'm reading. It's trying to improve. And no matter how successful a piece or a game or something is, there's always more you can do. And you can always grow.
Yeah. Listen, man, I think that's a great point to end this off on, dude. I really enjoyed our conversation today, man. I appreciate you coming on.
It's pretty cool. You refreshed a lot of things, a lot of key information for me as well. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Dope.